The October sun burns orange through the maple trees as I sit on Grandma Margaret's porch steps, my purple backpack slumped beside me like a deflated balloon. My Nintendo beeps softly in my hands, Mario jumping from platform to platform, but my eyes keep drifting to the empty street where Mom and Dad's red Buick disappeared 3 hours ago. Just a few hours, honey. We need to sort some things out. Mom's lipstick had been perfect, her smile just a little too bright. Dad kept checking his watch, keys jingling in his pocket. A screen door creaks behind me. Grandma Margaret stands in the doorway, her hands twisting her apron. The confusion in her eyes, my stomach feel funny. Claire, sweetheart, why don't you come inside? It's getting chilly. Her voice wavers, like she's asking a question she doesn't want answered. I press pause on my game. They said a few hours. The words come out smaller than I mean them to. Grandma's mouth tightens at the corners. She looks down the street, then back at me. Well, let's get you settled anyway. Come on now. Inside, the house smells like always. Coffee and cinnamon and old books. I dump my backpack on the kitchen floor. The zipper's broken, spilling out my favorite red hoodie and my only other pair of jeans. Is that all you brought? Grandma peers into the sagging backpack. I nod, picking at a loose thread on my sleeve. Mom said we'd go home soon. Grandma's face does something strange, like she's swallowing medicine. Let me fix up the storage room for you just in case. I trail behind her up the narrow stairs, each step creaking under our feet. The storage room smells musty, full of cardboard boxes and old picture frames. Grandma pulls sheets off a narrow bed wedged against the wall. They're yellow with age, spotted with little flowers that might have been pink once. We'll make it nice, she says, but her hands shake as she tucks in the corners. Night comes early in October. I sit by the window, watching headlights sweep past on the street below. Each pair makes my heart jump, but none of them slow down. None of them turn into our Buick. Time for bed, Claire. Grandma stands in the doorway, a toothbrush still in its package held out like a peace offering. We'll call them in the morning. I curl up under the scratchy sheets, still in my jeans and t-shirt. The bed feels wrong, too narrow, too high, too strange. Through the wall, I hear Grandma on the phone, her voice a low murmur. Allison, what's going on? You can't just... No, of course I'll keep her, but Douglas needs to. Allison? Something hot and wet slides down my cheek. I swipe it away, angry at the tears. They said a few hours. They promised. 3 days blur past. I wear the same jeans, wash my hoodie in the sink. Grandma makes pancakes every morning, her smile too bright, like Mom's was. Can I call them now? I ask each morning. They're probably busy, dear. Try to eat something. On the 4th day, I find Grandma's kitchen calendar. Little squares march across the page, filled with her neat handwriting. Doctor appointments, bridge club, church socials. I steal her pen and make my first mark, a tiny X in today's square. Tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow they'll come. The letter arrives on day 6. White envelope, Mom's Luby handwriting. Grandma's hands tremble as she opens it. We're sorting things out, she reads. We'll be back soon. Be good for Grandma. I study her face, searching for the truth she's not telling me. Her eyes stay fixed on the paper, reading words I can't see. I make my marks on the calendar each night, X after X after X. On day 10, Grandma drives me to Riverside Elementary. Just until things settle, she tells the principal. They talk in low voices while I sit outside the office, swinging my legs. The chair's too high, my feet don't touch the ground. My new teacher, Mrs. Anderson, smiles too much. And where did you move from, Claire? I didn't move. The words stick in my throat. My parents are traveling. For work. More X's on the calendar. More nights listening for a car that never comes. Thanksgiving arrives in a swirl of cooking smells. I help Grandma make stuffing, set the table with the good plates she keeps in a special cabinet. How many places, I ask, clutching the silverware. Grandma stares at the table for a long moment. Just us, Claire. Just us this year. I set 5 places anyway. Me, Grandma, Mom, Dad, an extra, just in case. Grandma touches my shoulder, gentle as a butterfly. Claire, honey. They might come. The forks clatter as my hands shake. They might. She doesn't argue. But later, when I'm supposed to be washing up, I see her remove the extra settings. 3 plates clink softly as she puts them away. At dinner, the empty chairs loom like giants. I push turkey around my plate, making pass through the mashed potatoes. Grandma chatters about her bridge club, her voice too loud in the quiet room. I can't stop staring at those empty chairs. Can't stop wondering if somewhere in some other dining room, Mom and Dad are sitting down to turkey and stuffing. If they're thinking about me. If they're coming back. If they ever meant to. The candles on my birthday cake cast shadows across the kitchen table. 10 pink flames dance in the January twilight while Grandma Margaret hums off key. Her voice wavers on the high notes of happy birthday, and I blow out the candles before she reaches the end. Did you make a wish, sweetheart? I nod, not meeting her eyes. The wish stays locked behind my teeth, the same one I've made every night since October. Please come back. The kitchen calendar hangs on the wall behind her, its squares marked with tiny X's that stretch back 87 days. I've counted them so many times the number burns in my brain like a brand. Your mother called earlier. Grandma's fingers twist her apron strings while you were at school. My heart jumps. What did she say? When are they? They're still sorting things out. Her voice carries the same careful tone she uses when talking to Mrs. Peterson next door about her dying roses. They send their love. The cake sits between us, store-bought chocolate with pink roses. Nothing like Mom's homemade vanilla with rainbow sprinkles. I push my plate away, the frosting untouched. That night, I learned to cook macaroni and cheese from the blue box while Grandma watches her evening shows. The chair creaks as she shifts, volume turned up loud enough to cover the sound of my sniffling over the stove. When I serve her a bowlful, she pats my hand. Just like that, Claire. You're becoming quite the little cook. Winter melts into spring. The letters arrive less often now, their messages growing shorter. Missing you. Be good. Love, Mom and Dad. No return address. No phone number. No explanation. One Tuesday morning, I wake early to find Grandma in her nightgown, phone pressed to her ear. Her back faces me, but her whispers carry through the kitchen. Allison, she's asking about you again. No, you can't keep doing this to her. She needs more than just a pause. Don't you dare hang up on. The dial tone buzzes loud enough for me to hear. Grandma's shoulders slump. I tiptoe back upstairs before she can turn around, slide under my covers, and pretend to sleep until she calls me for breakfast. At school, I perfect the art of disappearing. When Mrs. Anderson announces the mother-daughter tea party, I develop a stomachache. During parent-teacher conferences, I tell anyone who asks that my parents are still traveling for work. The lies roll off my tongue smooth as honey, practiced in front of my mirror at night. Claire shows remarkable progress in her studies. Mrs. Anderson tells Grandma during one conference. I sit outside the classroom, legs swinging beneath the too-tall chair, straining to hear. But she's so quiet in class. Does she have friends at home? She's adjusting, Grandma says in that same careful tone. It's been difficult. The Christmas card arrives on a Saturday morning. The envelope bears no return address, just Mom and Dad scrawled in Mom's looping handwriting. I carry it upstairs, unopened, add it to the stack in my dresser drawer. The pile grows taller, a tower of unread words. When Aunt Nancy visits in February, she brings real furniture for my room. This storage room nonsense won't do, she announces, directing the delivery men who haul up a proper bed, a desk, even curtains in soft yellow. Every girl needs her own space. I run my fingers over the smooth wood of the desk, imagining homework spread across its surface, diary pages filled with secrets, a permanent sort of place, not a temporary landing spot. Thank you, I whisper, and Aunt Nancy's eyes grow bright with tears. Mrs. Peterson next door teaches me to bake snickerdoodles one rainy afternoon. Your grandmother mentioned you like to cook, she says, showing me how to roll the dough in cinnamon sugar. Her kitchen smells like warmth and memory. 2 days later, at the library, Mr. Wilson saves new books he thinks I'll like. This one's about a girl who builds a treehouse. He tells me, sliding The View from Saturday across the counter, sometimes we have to build our own spaces in this world. Sarah Palmer becomes my first real friend in April. She sits next to me in math class, shares her fruit snacks, never asks why my parents miss every school function. When I visit her house for the first time, her mother hugs me tight enough to hurt. Time stretches like taffy. My 12th birthday arrives with no card, no call, no sign they remember. I find myself in the attic that night, a box of old photos in my lap. Mom and Dad smile up at me from summer barbecues, Christmas mornings, moments frozen in paper and time. My fingers itch to tear them, to shred their faces into confetti. Grandma finds me there, surrounded by scattered photographs. She doesn't speak, just sits beside me on the dusty floor and helps gather them up. That night, I write one last letter. Dear Mom and Dad, I don't want to wait anymore. The words spill across 3 pages, all my questions and anger and hurt. I fold it carefully, seal it in an envelope, write their names. It joins the unopened cards in my drawer, another bridge to nowhere. A week later, helping Grandma with dinner, I surprise us both. Can you pass the salt, Gram? The nickname slips out soft as a sigh. Her hand trembles as she passes the shaker, eyes bright with unshed tears. That evening, I stand before the kitchen calendar. 87 tiny X's have grown into hundreds, marching across months like fallen soldiers. I reach for the pen, hesitate, then lay it down. Tomorrow, I won't make a mark. Tomorrow, I'll stop counting days. Family isn't measured in presence, I write in my journal that night. Sometimes it's measured in absence, in the spaces between heartbeats, in the silence between words, in the people who stay when others walk away. Time passes that way quickly. Outside my window, the October maples burn orange against the darkening sky, same as they did 3 years ago. But I'm not waiting on the porch steps anymore. I have homework to finish, a desk to sit at, a space that's mine. The calendar hangs blank on the wall, tomorrow's square, clean and empty, ready for whatever comes next. 2 weeks later, the electric bill flutters in my hands like a wounded bird. Numbers blur together as I count the cash from my grocery store paycheck for the 3rd time, still $20 short. My stomach clenches as I write the check anyway, signing Margaret's name with practiced strokes. The forgery flows easier now than my own signature. Did you finish your geometry homework? Margaret calls from her recliner, voice raspy from her morning coughing fit. Almost. The lie slides out smooth as butter. The truth that I spent my study hall working extra hours at Johnson's Market stays locked behind my teeth. The detention slip burns in my back pocket, missing assignments the 4th time this month. But $20 is $20, and electricity matters more than equations I'll never use again. I seal the envelope, adding it to the pile of bills that grows faster than my paychecks can handle. The kitchen calendar mocks me with red circles around doctor's appointments, 3 this month for Margaret's worsening arthritis. Each one means another shift I'll need to pick up, another homework assignment that won't get done. 3 days later at school, Claire, Mrs. Martinez, my guidance counselor, peers at me over reading glasses. This isn't like you, your grades. I've been busy. I study the fraying hem of my jeans, the ones I've worn 3 days straight because laundry costs quarters we don't have. I understand things are difficult at home with your grandmother's health. You don't understand anything, the words crack like ice. Why should I care about school when no one cares about me? Her sharp intake of breath fills the silence. I want to snatch the words back, stuff them down where I keep everything else. But they hang there, raw and honest, until she slides a tissue box across her desk. I don't cry. Haven't since that first night on the porch steps, watching taillights fade into nothing. Instead, I stand, shoulder my backpack, and walk out. Behind me, Mrs. Martinez calls my name, but I'm already gone. The library becomes my refuge during lunch period. While other kids crowd the cafeteria, I hide in the back corner, scratching out stories in a dollar store notebook. Words flow easier than tears, spilling across pages in jagged lines about girls who fly away on midnight winds, who build homes in hollow trees, who save themselves when no one else will. The same day I went to my English teacher to update her about the essay I was writing. This is remarkable. Mrs. Winters holds my English assignment like it might shatter. The imagery, the emotion, Claire, have you considered writing for the school paper? I shrug, but something warm unfurls in my chest. It's just a story. It's more than that, she taps the final paragraph. This voice, this perspective on family, it's powerful, raw, real. I nod. Due to school circumstances and different arrangements, my first article runs in the March issue. Chosen family, blood isn't always thicker, spans 2 columns on page 3. I found Margaret in the kitchen that morning, carefully clipping it from the paper. Going on the fridge, she announces. Arthritis, gnarled fingers fumbling with the magnets, right where it belongs. That night, I catch her showing it to Mrs. Peterson from next door, pride brightening her tired eyes. Something shifts inside me, like puzzle pieces clicking into place. Maybe I can't fix everything broken in our lives, but I can create something new from the pieces. My world expands and contracts like a paper fan. School, work, home, repeat. Drive Margaret to appointments in her ancient Buick. Pray it starts each morning. Change sheets, cook meals, count pills into daily containers. Write stories between customers at the market, on lunch breaks, during the quiet hours when pain keeps Margaret awake and I sit beside her bed, notebook balanced on my knees. Aunt Nancy shows up more often now, bringing casseroles and concerned glances. She finds me one Sunday scrubbing bathroom tiles while Margaret naps. You're 16, Claire, you shouldn't have to. I don't have to, I choose to. The words come out sharper than intended. She chose me when no one else did. Aunt Nancy's face crumples like wet paper. Oh, honey. Don't. I stand, knees creaking like I'm the old one. Just don't. But she keeps coming, and slowly, I let her help. She drives Margaret to physical therapy while I work extra shifts, brings groceries when the bills eat my whole paycheck. Signs permission slips in Margaret's shaky hand so I don't have to forge them. My circle widens, cautiously. Sarah from English class who lost her mom to cancer and gets it without getting it. Mr. Wilson at the library saving new books he thinks I'll like. Mrs. Winters, slipping college brochures into my locker, highlighting scholarships for promising young writers. The acceptance letter from State University arrives on a Tuesday. Full scholarship, including room and board. Margaret's hands shake as she reads it, tears spotting the cream-colored paper. I'll commute, I say quickly. It's only 20 miles. I can take morning classes, be home by. No, Margaret's voice carries the weight of granite. You'll live on campus, join clubs, make friends. She grips my hand, her palm cool and papery against mine. Don't let them take any more from you. But who'll take care of you? Her smile trembles at the edges. I raised you to be strong, not stuck. My girl's going to college. I don't tell her how terrified I am of leaving, of failing, of coming home to an empty house like I did at 9 years old. Don't tell her that every acceptance feels like rejection in reverse, every achievement shadowed by abandonment. Instead, I help her into bed, adjust her pillows, and lay my latest story on her nightstand. This one's about a girl who builds wings from broken promises and flies toward tomorrow, carrying yesterday's love in her pocket like a smooth stone, worn soft by time and tears. My writer, Margaret whispers, touching the pages with gentle fingers. My brave girl. I curl up in the chair beside her bed, homework forgotten in my lap, and watch her drift to sleep. In the quiet, I imagine myself walking across a stage in cap and gown, diploma in hand. Imagine Margaret in the audience, proud tears in her eyes. Imagine proving that love isn't just who stays sites who helps you become strong enough to leave. The story writes itself in my head. Once, there was a girl who learned to forge signatures, balance checkbooks, and cook dinner one-handed while doing trigonometry. Who built a life from abandoned pieces and found family in unexpected places? Who discovered that some hearts, like some homes, have spare rooms just waiting to be filled with chosen love? Tomorrow, I'll skip lunch to finish my calculus homework. pick up an extra shift at the market, help Margaret with her exercises. But tonight, I let myself dream of dorm rooms and fresh starts, of a future written in my own hand, signed with my own name. After all, I learned from the best how to make a home from whatever life gives you. 4 years from now on, I will do my best to create my own. 4 years later, the hospice nurse's footsteps fade down the hallway. Purple dawn seeps through the curtains, casting shadows across Margaret's still face. My hand rests on hers, counting the spaces between breaths until they stretch longer, until they stop altogether. No drama, no last words, just the quiet sound of a final exhale, like wind through autumn leaves. I sit there holding her cooling hand until sunlight fills the room. The morning moves in slow motion, the nurse returning, phone calls to make, papers to sign. My voice stays steady, mechanical. Name, date, time of death, relationship to deceased. Primary carer, next of kind. Aunt Nancy arrives within the hour, her silver hair still in curlers. "Oh, honey," she whispers, pulling me into a hug that smells like coffee and Jean Naté perfume. I let her hold me for exactly 3 seconds before stepping back. "I need to start the arrangements," I say, moving toward Margaret's study. She left instructions. The manila envelope sits in the top drawer, exactly where she told me. Inside, every detail spelled out in her precise handwriting. Funeral home, cemetery plot, hymn selections, even the outfit she wants to wear. My practical grandmother organizing her own goodbye. Between the papers, a sealed letter addressed to me. I slip it into my pocket unopened. Not yet. Not today. 2 hours later, the funeral director, Mr. Peterson, remembers me from church. His handshake is dry and professional as he walks us through options. I choose the simpler casket Margaret specified, ignoring his gentle suggestions of upgrades. She wouldn't have wanted the extra expense. "And the obituary?" he asks, pen hovering over his notepad. "I'll write it," I say. The words already lined up in my head, precise as soldiers. Margaret Ellen Reynolds, beloved grandmother, dedicated teacher, faithful friend. Survived by her granddaughter Claire. No mention of her daughter Allison or son-in-law Douglas. The living can be as absent as the dead. The morning of the funeral dawns bright and cold. October sunlight streams through stained glass, painting rainbow shadows across Margaret's closed casket. I stand beside it in the black dress she helped me pick for college interviews, accepting condolences from a blur of familiar faces. Mrs. Wilson from the library brings banana bread. My old English teacher presses a card into my hand. Sarah, my best friend since 10th grade, stations herself nearby with tissues and quiet support. The scent of funeral flowers fills the air, lilies and chrysanthemums that Margaret would have called a waste of good garden space. A sudden hush falls over the room. The air changes, like the pressure drop before a storm. I turn, and 11 years collapse into a single heartbeat. They stand in the doorway, frozen in time. Mom in a tailored black suit, her blonde hair shorter but still perfectly styled. Dad beside her, more gray at his temples, but wearing the same apologetic half-smile that appeared whenever bill collectors called. The room spins. Bile rises in my throat. My fingers grip the casket's polished edge as the floor tilts beneath my feet. Sarah's hand finds my elbow, steadying me. Aunt Nancy materializes on my other side, a wall of floral perfume and protective anger. Mom steps forward, arms outstretched. "Oh, sweetheart, we've missed you so much." Her voice unlocks something in my chest, not the child's longing I once felt, but a white-hot fury that burns away the dizziness. I step backward. "Who are you?" She freezes, painted lips trembling. Dad moves forward, one hand touching her shoulder. "Claire, honey, we know things were really hard back then." Hard? The word tastes like metal in my mouth. The fury crystallizes into something colder, sharper. 11 years. You missed 11 years. Whispers ripple through the funeral home. Someone coughs. The organist, oblivious, practices hymn fragments that float discordantly through the air. "Please," Mom says, "can we talk? We want to make things right." I look at her perfectly manicured hands, clutching a designer purse that probably cost more than my textbooks this semester. At Dad's expensive watch, gleaming beneath his suit cuff. At their faces, lined with what they probably think is regret. Make things right? My voice comes out soft, controlled. Did you bring a time machine? Can you give me back my 10th birthday? My high school graduation? The nights I helped Grandma up the stairs when her arthritis got bad? We're still your parents, Dad says, steel entering his voice. The tone that once sent me scurrying to my room now bounces off me like rain on glass. No. I rest my hand on Margaret's casket. She was my parent. She stayed. You're just the people who left me on a porch. The church basement reception feels endless. I stand by the coffee urn, accepting condolences and watching my parents work the room. They move from table to table, shaking hands, accepting sympathetic pats. Poor things, having to deal with their difficult daughter on today of all days. Such a shame about Allison's mother. Family difficulties are so hard. Dad approaches with a paper plate of untouched sandwich triangles. His rehearsed speech about family healing dies as I meet his eyes. Why? The question cuts through his prepared words. Why did you abandon your 9-year-old daughter? His face reddens. Around us, conversations stutter to a halt. Claire, this isn't the place. When is the place? The coffee cup shakes in my hand. Another 11 years from now, when the next funeral brings you crawling back? We were trying to protect you, he says, but his eyes slide away from mine. From what, love? Stability? Having parents? Each question lands like a slap. The only thing I needed protection from was you. The cup crumples in my fist. Coffee splashes across the linoleum. As people scramble for napkins, I walk away from the mess, away from their excuses, away from the child I was who believed in promises kept. The afternoon sun still burns orange through maple trees as I drive home alone. The same trees that watched me wait on Margaret's porch, believing in love's return. I was wrong then. I'm not wrong now. Margaret's letter stays unopened in my pocket, heavy as inheritance, light as grace. The funeral home's last mourner shuffles out, leaving behind the lingering scent of stale coffee and sympathy casseroles. I stand in Margaret's kitchen now staring at the wall calendar she religiously updated each month. Her careful handwriting marks doctor appointments that will never be kept, bridge club meetings she'll never attend. My fingers trace the dates, remembering how I once marked the days of waiting on a different calendar 11 years ago. The irony stings. I inherited her house the same way I inherited her life through abandonment. After the funeral, I returned to campus due to college obligations, but now during a holiday I came back. One Wednesday afternoon, the phone buzzed in my pocket. Another voicemail from Mom. They're accumulating like dead leaves in autumn, messages I'll never rake through. The kitchen window reflects my expression. Jaw tight, shoulders squared against incoming storms. Claire? Aunt Nancy's voice drifts from the doorway. You don't have to stay here alone tonight. It might feel strange after some time. We have the guest room ready. I turn, catching her worried look. The same expression Margaret wore that first night, watching me unpack my purple backpack with its single change of clothes. I'm fine here, I say, my voice steady. This is home. Nancy nods, understanding what I can't bring myself to say. I won't leave this house the way they left me. The manila envelope from Margaret's lawyer sits unopened on the kitchen table. Inside, I find property deeds, bank statements, insurance policies, all meticulously organized. A note falls from between the pages, Margaret's handwriting shaky but determined. Claire, my dear one, I planned for this day so you would never have to depend on anyone who might leave. My throat closes. Even dying, she protected me. The doorbell rings 3 days later. Nobody's there, but a cream envelope lies on the welcome mat. Inside, photographs spill out like autumn leaves. My 4th birthday party, Christmas morning when I was 6, a summer picnic where Dad hoists me onto his shoulders. Happy moments weaponized into guilt-inducing missiles. I gather them up, noting Mom's looping handwriting on the back of each one. The dates stop abruptly at age 9. I drop them in the kitchen trash, watching coffee grounds obscure their smiling faces. My phone lights up with a text. We need to talk, please. Delete. Another envelope appears the next week. Then a business card slipped through the mail slot. Douglas Reynolds, financial advisor, family first. The irony would be funny if it didn't make me want to scream. Months pass. Autumn burns into winter. I focus on finishing my degree, writing for the local paper, slowly repainting Margaret's faded walls. The messages continue until one morning in March, My resolve cracks like spring ice. 1 hour. I tell Mom's latest voicemail. The Riverside Diner. That's all you get. That same day, they arrive early, of course. Through the diner's plate glass window, I watch them fidget at a booth. Mom looks older, her bottle blonde hair streaked with gray. Dad's shoulders stoop under his business suit. They've aged 14 years while I wasn't looking. The bell above the door announces my arrival. Mom half rises, arms outstretched, but I slide into the booth's opposite side. The vinyl squeaks beneath me, sounds too loud in the sudden silence. Claire. Mom's voice wobbles. You look so beautiful. I stare at the laminated menu, though I've memorized every item. Why are you here? We wanted. Dad clears his throat. Things were really rough back then. The gambling debts, your mother's depression, my drinking. We never meant to stay away so long, Mom jumps in. We just needed time to sort things out, get back on our feet. My coffee arrives. I wrap my hands around the mug, let the heat ground me. 14 years is a lot of sorting. We know we hurt you. Mom's eyes shimmer with tears. If you'd just let us explain. Did you ever think about what happened to me? The words emerge calm, controlled. Did you wonder about my birthdays, my graduations? The night I sat up with Margaret during her first heart attack, terrified she'd die and leave me too? We knew your grandmother would take care of you, Dad says. She was always so capable. She was 73. My voice could freeze mercury. I was 9. I learned to forge her signature on school forms because she couldn't see well enough to sign them. I cooked meals when her arthritis got bad. I grew up fast because I had to. Mom dissolves into tears. Not for me, I realize with startling clarity. For herself, for the guilt she carries, for the daughter she wants absolution from. I stand, my untouched coffee cooling on the table. Grandma died, that's the only reason you're here. Claire, wait. Dad's hand shoots out, grabs my arm. We're still your parents. I peel his fingers away one by one. No, you're the people who left me on a porch, the people who made a 9-year-old girl think she wasn't worth coming back for. Please. Mom's mascara tracks black rivers down her cheeks. We can start over, we have time. A bitter laugh escapes me. Margaret had time, she used it. Every day, every year, she was there. You? I shoulder my bag. You wasted yours. The diner's bell chimes my exit. Behind me, I hear Mom's sobs, Dad calling my name. I don't look back. The morning sun warms my face as I walk to my cardo, my home, to the life I built without them. Let them sit there with their cold coffee and colder regrets. I have Margaret's roses to plant this spring. 6 months later, the morning sun catches dust motes dancing through Margaret's old craftsman windows. I run my palm across the freshly painted kitchen wall, remembering the faded yellow wallpaper that used to peel at the corners. The new sage green brightens the space, making it mine. Coffee burbles in the percolator Margaret used every morning for 30 years. I kept it, along with her cast iron skillet and the old wooden spoons worn smooth from decades of stirring. Some things deserve to stay. Sarah arrives first for Sunday dinner, bearing a bottle of wine and new photos of her daughter. The paint looks perfect, she says, dropping her keys in the ceramic bowl by the door, another of Margaret's touchstones I couldn't bear to replace. Though I still can't believe you did it all yourself. YouTube tutorials, I say, pulling down wine glasses, and a lot of painter's tape. The front door swings open again as Mark and Patricia from my support group arrive, followed by David from the library where I volunteer. Soon the kitchen fills with the smell of roasting chicken and the murmur of easy conversation. No one mentions the stack of unopened holiday cards on my desk upstairs, or the gathering where my father's accusations of selfishness echoed through Aunt Nancy's dining room. These people know my whole story, they've earned their place at this table. After dinner, while Sarah helps load the dishwasher, I slip upstairs to my writing desk. The evening light spills across the newly refinished oak surface, illuminating the framed photo of Margaret and me at my high school graduation. She's thin in the picture, already unwell, but her smile could power a city. My laptop holds the final draft of my essay about chosen family. The local paper wants to run it next Sunday. I touch the edge of Margaret's photo, remembering how she saved every scrap of my writing, even the angry poems I scribbled in middle school. Family isn't who leaves you. I type into the blank space beneath my title. It's who stays. The words flow easier now, after months of therapy and support group meetings. I write about the box of parents' letters I finally moved to the attic, no longer needing them under my bed like some kind of talisman. About Margaret's roses I've planted in the backyard, their thorny stems already reaching toward spring. About the scholarship fund I've started in her name at the community college, small now, but growing. A car engine sounds outside, then slows. My fingers pause on the keyboard. Through the window, I watch a familiar red Buick cruise past, brake lights flaring briefly before the car continues down the street. My parents, making another drive-by attempt at reconciliation. Time was, that sight would have sent me spiraling. Now I just feel a quiet certainty, like stones settling at the bottom of a clear stream. I save my document and head downstairs. Sarah's teenage daughter Rachel sprawls on the porch steps, thumbs flying over her phone screen. She glances up as I settle beside her. Mom said this is where you used to wait, Rachel says. You know, when you were little. The autumn shadows stretch across the lawn, same as they did 14 years ago, but the little girl with the purple backpack and Nintendo is long gone. In her place sits a woman who finally understands that loving someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you over and over. Some doors need to stay closed, I tell Rachel, so new ones can open. She nods like she gets it, even though I know she doesn't fully understand. How could she? She has parents who came home every night, who showed up to every school play and soccer game, who stayed. Inside, laughter spills from the kitchen where my chosen family lingers over coffee and Sarah's homemade apple pie. The porch wood still creaks in the same spots. The maple trees still paint orange shadows on the sidewalk, but I'm not waiting anymore. I stand, brushing off my jeans. Come on, I say to Rachel, let's go in before they eat all the pie. She bounces up, phone forgotten. I take one last look at the empty street, then turn toward the warm light spilling from my doorway. My hand rests on the solid oak door frame as I step inside. The brass knob feels cool and certain against my palm as I pull it firmly closed behind me. Margaret taught me that forgiveness without accountability is just erasure. I don't hate them, my parents. I just finally understand that I don't need them either. Some lessons take 14 years to learn. Some doors take that long to close. But when they do, the sound is sweet as church bells on a clear morning. Final as a period at the end of a long sentence. Peaceful as the silence after. I let the deadbolt slide home with a quiet click. In the kitchen, Sarah's laugh mingles with Mark's bass rumble. David's telling that story about the library ghost again. The coffee maker gurgles its last notes. The house settles around me like a sigh, like coming home, like staying.